going from 243,000 to 1.8 million per month in only 11 months. This is going to be the importance of one income vehicle or one skill vehicle. So today, basically, I'm going to go over the three major things and the three takeaways of how in 11 months from around 2022 to 2023, basically I went from $243,000 with the main business all the way to 1.8 million in 11 months. Now you might have seen the precursor video, which was 3,000 to 243. This is now the 243 to 1.8 million. It's going to be all the tribulations, the trials, the errors, what I would do, and there's going to be three things that basically I took away from that and that you can learn from. So let's jump right in. Yes, that's a 700% increase, and yes, that is per month. So $243,000 per month to $1.8 million per month. And basically, the biggest thing that I would say is the biggest failure is not enough profit. Because the skill I had at the time was marketing and sales. And I moved that from marketing into the financial services space, acquiring a fair few companies in the financial sector under BGA. Now, I was basically in charge of lead generation sales and driving revenue for that as I merged the companies together in the late 2022. So basically that basically involved a mortgage company, it involved a commercial finance company, it involved a asset finance company, a little bit of insurance here and there for auto. And basically in that period of time, we grew those companies and I grew those finance companies from 500,000 a month when I bought in to 1.3 million per month. And then the other 500 was the company that I merged in. So that's how we went. And at that time as well, it went from like 243 at that company to 500, or it was over 500. But the finance companies then grew from 500 a month to 1.3. So that's the 500 per month of the companies I bought in, and 1.3 million per month at the peak, both doing that at the peak. Okay, so that's basically the numbers of it, and it just wasn't making as much profit as it needed to because we needed to streamline operations, we needed to focus on not aggressively expanding so quickly, and we could have taken home a lot more profit and take home income if basically we didn't focus on so much expansion and growth and driving revenue as much. It's obviously a big number. I had two other essentially like founders with myself as well, who founded the private equity firm when we kind of merged everything together. And basically all these companies that came together, there was three of us with different shares based on the contribution that we had of profit coming in. And basically what happened was we merged, we had a standing company at around 5 to 600,000 and that grew to 1.8 million at the very start of the merge, okay? And as we were basically pumping all the profit back into the company, it wasn't really returning to any of the actual directors or owners as such. It was really just going to the aggressive expansion of the business at the time. Now, we could have again slowed down growth, taken home a lot more take-home income, and that probably would have been a lot better if I'm being honest, because the revenue was just all flash. You really want to focus on profit and not the vanity numbers of saying you did 1.8 million a month, because even 30% margin on that is pretty good. But if you could have done 50% margin on 1.8 million, that's $900,000 a month take home. Like it's a fairly large number at 50% margin versus 20 or 30%. Like you're doubling, tripling the amount of money that you're making in a year. So it's quite significant. Now, the second thing, apart from profit, is basically the difference in a $1 million a year team versus a $10 million a year team. So a $1 million a year team, you want to think of it as different levels of skilled people. What I mean by that is there's 6-figure skills, there's 7-figure skills, and then there's 8-figure skills. Meaning if this person went out on their own and basically grew a company, could they make 6 figures in that company? Could they make 7 figures in that company? Could they make 8 figures in that company? Like what level of skill does that person have? So at a 7-figure business, meaning you're making over $1 million per year in top line revenue, you probably only need a few people, 1 6-figure, and hopefully yourself a 7-figure entrepreneur as such. Now, the difference between that and a $10 million a year company or an 8-figure company is now you need at least 1, maybe even 2 of the 7-figure kind of skill level people. So you're above that, leading them, you lead 1 or 2 people, and then they lead down into the different departments. Now, in the case of this, again, we had too much overall cost because it was spread too thinly among the companies. We were doing $800,000 in the commercial brokerage a month. We were doing 200,000, 250 to 200,000 in the mortgage company. That's because we had a big loan book as well. And then on top of that, we were doing around 300,000 in the asset finance company. Now, that basically meant that we were running with CEOs or COOs per those companies, and we could have been running way thinner and basically just pushing everything towards one of the vehicles, which was the biggest company, put all that effort into that, and we probably could have taken home way more money, and that's how we would have done it. Less cost, less overall management of these companies, and basically pushed everything into one company instead of separating it, and that would have been significantly better. But a 10-figure team, or an 8-figure team, sorry, a $10 million a year team, the biggest difference there, as I said, there's 1 or 2 7-figure entrepreneurs, as you'd call them, or 7-figure skill sets under you that basically can drive and basically help you grow. So you lead them, they then lead a bunch of 6-figure people, and hopefully you don't have any what I like to call 5-figure people, which is just waste of time, unfortunately. If they can only make your business under $100,000 per year, there's no point of really having them, unfortunately. So 6-figure, 7-figure, or 8-figure, that's the biggest difference. You go from yourself being the 7-figure entrepreneur to now you having 1 to 2 7-figure entrepreneurs in an 8-figure business, okay? So that's the biggest takeaways there, because they need to be driving growth. You can't manage 50 people by yourself, or 40 people. We had, I believe, 40 people at the time. So you can't manage 40 people by yourself. One person can usually manage 7 to 15 people at the maximum if you're a high performer. So you trying to manage 40 is very difficult. So that's the biggest difference. Look for those key people. Key people drive growth. As Alex Hormozi says, you're one big hire away from the revenue of your dreams. Think about it like that. Now, how would I do this all again? So what I would do again is, when we merged, the companies were a bit smaller. The other two, the asset finance and the mortgage company, were in a bit more of a startup phase. And the other company, who was doing at its peak $800,000 a month, I would have just put all the resources into that. And that could have been doing 1.5 to 1.8 million a month, most likely. It would have far exceeded the rest of the companies. It had the biggest legs. It was the best at the time. This is back in 2022 to 2023, where the commercial industry was going very well. This was commercial brokerage. We should have pressed into the private area for commercial brokering. We should have maintained all our current relations in the unsecured space. And basically, we should have just kept pushing that one company and put all the heads inside of that, and moved in a private arm, all unsecured, maintained all of our relationships with our current lenders. And we had all direct relationships with great VBIs. VBIs stand for volume-based incentives. So we then should have opened up a secondary service like business insurance. We should have done all these things. And basically that's what I would have done. Instead of expanding horizontally, I would have expanded vertically. So put more layers in the company, really separate it, and then add a lot of the services in the back end. So they get a commercial loan, they get business insurance. What is next? What can you do directly after? Everyone goes, yeah, you can you can refinance their house. But no, you can't refinance everyone's house who's a business owner, because they might not have a house, they might not want to, but they all need business insurance. That's just a fact. So at least you get a shot there, and just build your services out like that. Potentially they all need private health insurance. So potentially it's health insurance. You think of things that are like that you can completely reduce the upfront expense of marketing, because to scale that level, 1.8 million a month is what is that? It's approximately nearly $20 million a year for the company. It's not quite, it's a bit lower, but basically you kind of need to really make sure that at that level you have everything in place to make sure that moving forward, when you have these stacked layers of things, that you reduce that 30% marketing cost, okay, that I talk about. When you're at these big numbers, 30% is the margin to stay profitable, because you only can maintain 20 to 30% margins in over an 8-figure company in basically the financial services space. If anyone can do higher than that, well done. But conservatively, I'll say 20 to 30% of take-home income before tax. So that's essentially how I'd do it again. I'd stack it vertically, not horizontally. And that's the biggest things that we learned in that time. And the biggest things that I would say are takeaways is the team It's also making sure that like you understand the failures that I made, and then also how I would do it again. Stacking a company vertically, not horizontally. Don't go with shiny object syndrome. Make sure that you have all the things lined up for your business, and don't even talk about other businesses. Just make sure you have all the things lined up vertically, in your business. Again, I hope that was valuable. That's going from $243,000 a month to $1.8 million a month in 11 months. It was fairly aggressive. It was very aggressive in terms of the growth. Made a lot of mistakes, but obviously a lot of money came in through that as well. Again, I hope that was valuable, guys, and I'll speak with you guys soon.